On today's live daily news, the Fiddle Strings Axe Attack trial comes to a conclusion. West Texas A&M gets sued over drag queens, and exclusive to San Angelo Live, Elisa Tambunga, whose 7-year-old daughter and 71-year-old mother were killed in that horrific crash in Ozona, talks to us about that fateful day when a coyote engaged in a human smuggling operation slammed into her mother's truck and killed her immediate family. All of this plus more. I'm Joe Hyde, and this is Live. Before we get into the news, do you have a parking lot, driveway, or ranch road that needs paving? Black Rock Paving is working all over the Concho Valley throughout the month of April. They perform quality work and have the local references to back it up. Estimates are free. To get a free estimate, call James Mesker with Black Rock Paving at 817-913-6013 or go to blackrockpavingtx.com. That's James Mesker at Black Rock Paving, 817-913-6013. Remember that, it's 913-6013. Or head on over to blackrockpavingtx.com. The suspect in the Fiddle Strings Axe assault trial was found guilty of aggravated assault with a deadly weapon by a Tom Green County jury on Thursday afternoon. The guilty verdict came after 3 days worth of testimony and evidence presented by both the state attorneys Ashley Knight and Joe Webster from our district attorney's office and the defense, San Angelo attorney John Sutton. The jury began its deliberations on Thursday afternoon Thursday morning at 11:35 a.m. and came back with a verdict at 6:42 p.m. last night. The court reconvened on Friday morning at 9 a.m. with the punishment phase. Prior to the beginning of this trial, the defendant, Fabian Mejia, elected to have the presiding district judge, Jay Weatherby, set his punishment. Normally, aggravated assault is penalized by 2 to 20 years in prison. However, due to Mejia's previous felony conviction for deadly conduct, the max penalty was enhanced to 5 to 99 years in prison. The word on the street is that Mejia turned down a plea deal for just 25 years in prison. In the end, Fabian Mejia, the Fiddle Strings Axe attacker, was sentenced by Judge Weatherby to 11 years in prison. Mejia even received 325 days credit for time served so far awaiting trial. Once again, the Tom Green County District Attorney's Office failed to deliver. Anytime a jury trial conviction earns less jail time than the offered plea deal, it's a loss for the DA. We're keeping score, and so far this year, the DA's office record is 0-5. And 0-5 is the worst record than the Houston Texans. At least the Texans won 3 games last year. For more on the Fiddle Strings Axe Attack trial, see the story on sanangelolive.com. When West Texas A&M University President Walter Wendler denied a campus group called Spectrum WT from holding a drag queen charity show on campus, we wondered if this was the turning of the tide against the radical left and the woke agenda. Finally, we thought an institution was fighting back, and we wondered if the trend may continue with Angelo State. Would ASU President Ronnie Hawkins follow WTA&M's lead and cancel the annual drag rave on Angelo State's campus? Well, this morning the other shoe dropped. A Washington, D.C. group, it's a foundation that fights for individual rights and expression. It's called FIRE, or F-I-R-E. It's a nonprofit civil liberties group that receives some of its funding from the Hugh Hefner Foundation. Well, anyway, this group found some plaintiffs and sued everyone in the Texas A&M University system, including San Angelo's own Randy Brooks, who sits on the Texas A&M University Board of Regents. The plaintiffs, who FIRE represents, are 2 organizers of the drag queen show that had been scheduled up there in Amarillo or Canyon, Texas on March 31st. They say their First Amendment rights to free expression were violated. The lawsuit was filed in the Federal Northern District Court in Amarillo. West Texas A&M President Wendler's argument was that their free expression violates the rights of women. He called the show misogyny. Now it looks like it's going to be a huge legal fight I'll have more on this lawsuit in my article to be published later today on SanAngeloLive.com. No doubt if ASU's President Hawkins canceled this year's ASU Drag Rave, he'd have Hugh Hefner's guys after ASU too. And if you don't know who Hugh Hefner is, well, there's always Google. And now we get to our exclusive interview with the ultimate victim of the March 13th crash in Ozona involving a coyote running from the cops. Elisa Tambunga lost not only her mother, 71-year-old Coke Tambunga, but also her daughter, 7-year-old Amelia Tambunga. It happened when a coyote engaged in a human smuggling operation slammed into her mother's pickup when grandmother and granddaughter were headed across town to buy some ice cream. Elisa, who is finishing her degree at Tarleton State University, stopped by our studios yesterday to talk to us about the tragic loss. Right after this, we will return with this exclusive interview.
We all know it's super hard to find super duties. They are few and far between. But right now, you can actually find a great selection at Jim Bass. And it's perfect because it's Truck Month. So why not take advantage of the Ford Factory incentives and our great selections and make it the place to buy your next truck. Jim Bass Cars and Trucks, Houston Hardin Road, or 24/7 at bassbunch.com.
Hey, welcome back. Joe Hyde here. About 10 days ago from the time we're recording this, on March 13th at 8:30 p.m., a grandmother and a granddaughter were driving through an intersection underneath I-10 in Ozona, Texas. And at that time, it was like unlucky circumstances that they were met in a collision with a coyote who was hauling about, I guess, 9 illegal aliens in a it looked like a Chevy pickup, or it was a Dodge Ram pickup truck. And exclusive to San Angelo Live, we have Elisa Tambunga, and you are the mother, or you're the mother of the girl who was killed, of the little girl who was killed, and that was your mother.
Yes, my mother Maria Tambunga and my daughter Amelia Tambunga.
What on that night of that tragic accident? When did you find? First of all, where are you living? Are you living in Ozona now?
I am living in Ozona.
So did you find out about it real soon, or because it seemed like that night, from covering that in the news, that the news in those small towns travels really fast.
It does. I received a phone call around 8:30 at night. I was actually in the middle of one of my midterm exams when I received the phone call stating that I just needed to get home. And I kept asking what was going on. I couldn't get a definitive answer from anyone. But on my way home, I saw the crash. That's when I saw my mother's truck, and I pulled over. It already had been taped off. There was police everywhere. There's personnel, EMT personnel. That's when I found out.
Wow. I cannot imagine the feeling that you had that overcame you, the feelings that overcame you. I mean, if that happened to me with my mother and my child, I'd be crushed.
I am crushed. I'm devastated. My world has been shattered.
And so we're in Ozona, Texas is a small town. And, we have these, and it's probably one of the major metros. If you're coming from the border, I guess down south of you would be Pandale.
Yes.
And then the Rio Grande. That's kind of like, so there's not a whole lot of, you're the first real town if you're coming north from the, but I understand this chase probably, we don't know for sure, it probably started on I-10 in Fort Stockton. That's what I'm thinking, right? And so we are impacted by this because we have this open border.
Yes.
And if we would just enforce the laws we have now, perhaps your mother and your child would still be alive today. And so this is like a policy failure, I think, from the federal level, to not enforce our laws at the border. What kind of outpouring did you get from the town of Ozona?
Oh, I can't even begin to describe the amount of support we have received, not only just from our community, but surrounding communities. I've had strangers reach out to me, and I've had multiple people just send their condolences, their love, their prayers. That's really what has gotten us through this as a family, as a support.
And obviously did you drop out of school, or are you going to continue?
No, I'm continuing school.
Are you? You're going to keep busy?
I am going to keep busy, but that doesn't mean that it's going to stop me from fighting and advocating for my daughter and my mother.
What do you think, as far as advocating for your mother and your daughter, what could you do? What are you thinking you can do?
Well, I want to bring attention to, again, our borders. We need to secure our borders. We need to make sure that our policemen have proper funding, and not only funding, but training as well. Mm-hmm. This is an incident that could have been avoided.
So you think it could have been avoided if one party, the DPS or the Crockett County Sheriff, that's the county Ozona's in, if they pulled off on and just caught them later?
I think if our counties and our state knew how to work together a little bit better, this could have been avoided.
Okay, so working together as far as law enforcement units, better communication between.
Right, but to be clear, this goes all the way to the top. So this goes all the way to the top to Joe Biden's administration, Kamala Harris. It goes to Governor Abbott, Ted Cruz, Tony Gonzalez, and so on. When was the last time you saw your daughter? Monday morning.
Monday morning
accident.
And so she was staying with your mom, with grandmother,
yes,
that day.
We actually had a mother-daughter weekend, and we had just gotten back from San Angelo from her dentist appointment Monday morning. I dropped her off around 11 at my parents' house, and I went to work like usual.
Wow. Mm-hmm. And you just never know when these circumstances will interrupt.
No. And
destroy your life. Basically what this has happened. It's destroyed your life.
It has.
And your mother, how old are you, first of all?
I'm 27.
You're 27. So for 27 years you've had a mother.
I've had a mother for 27 years.
And now you're going to be without a mother for the rest of your life.
Yes.
That is so sad. And then you don't have a daughter. I mean, it's because of this policy failure. It really is. It's a policy failure that allows this to happen. And I don't know what we can do other than continue to tell your story.
We'll continue and to hold the responsible people accountable.
Right.
Again, this goes up to the administration, down to our community. Policies should be in place, and there should be communication within departments to avoid these things. Mr. Comer, the murderer, the driver of that vehicle that hit my mother and my daughter, to our knowledge from DPS, has had multiple warrants. So why is a man with multiple warrants out in the streets? Why is he in our communities?
Yeah. And from what I understand, Mr. Comer's in a wheelchair now. From
my understanding, he is hurt. He is in San Antonio receiving medical care. And as of last night, we were told that he was officially charged with smuggling and injury, and that he is to be transferred to Crockett County to be charged with the 2 counts of murder.
Good. So we're going to hold him accountable.
We're holding him accountable at the highest level we can.
Well, it's a pleasure to have you come on our show, and it's such a tragic circumstances, and I'm sorry. Yeah. I'm very sorry.
Thank you.
I feel very bad for you. I mean, you're the one that's taking the brunt of all of this.
Yes.
And you're just a little 27-year-old girl. I mean, you're the same age as my daughter.
Yeah. It's a lot to take in. But again, I couldn't do this without the support of not only my friends, but my family. Well, having my dad and my brother-in-law and my sister by my side are what pulling me through.
Well, God bless you.
Thank you.
Back to y'all.
This month only, mix and match cleaning and disinfecting services and save big with Carpetech. For example, get your carpet clean, save 10%. Get your carpet and tile clean, save 15%. Or get your carpet and tile and air ducts clean, save 20%. Call Carpetech today, 325-735-5142.
If your home is in a wreck, call Carpetech, yeah.
Recording 3.
And this has been an abbreviated episode of the Live Daily News Show. The crew from Cover One was at the San Angelo Relays today, and we will return with a separate live stream of the Cover One team, and they'll be talking about who's winning what at the relays, because in high school sports world, these relays are a huge deal. Live Daily News is live streamed every weekday afternoon on Facebook, YouTube, Twitter, and our website, sanangelolive.com. The best way to keep up with all the news and content pouring out of SanAngeloLive.com is to subscribe to the live daily email. It's sent out every weekday evening. The email has a recap of all the stories published that day, has upcoming events in it, obituaries, and public notices, like probate court news and foreclosures. The email, with over 14,000 subscribers, is marketed as the newspaper to your email, and it is completely free to sign up. To subscribe to the live daily news email, go to sanangelolive.com/subscribe. That's sanangelolive.com/subscribe. The email is designed to keep smart folks like you in the know. For the team here at San Angelo Live, I'm Joe Hyde, and this has been the Friday, March 24th edition of the Live Daily News Show. Hang on for a new live stream that will start shortly with the Cover One crew, when they'll be talking about the San Angelo Relays. As for the rest of the news, we'll see you on Monday.